Kia ora e te whānau. Just while we're waiting for everybody to log in, you pop your name in the chat and where you're from so we can see who everybody is. Awesome, 45, 48. Welcome everybody. So nice of you to join us this evening. Pop your name in the chat and where you're from. We've got people registered from all across the motu, so it'd be great to know who you are and where you're from. Kia ora, Barb Curran. I think I've heard of you before. You seem nice. I hope you've had a lovely dinner this evening. Helen, hi Crystal, how are you? Hey Kerry from one of our own. Shannon from Dunedin, kia ora. They're piling in, I love it. Kia ora everybody. Fantastic. Hey Margie. Hey Sarah, hey Maylin, hey Wayne. It's the whole fam here tonight. I love it. Kia ora, Julianne. This is great, guys. Keep popping your name in the chat as you come on, but we're going to get started real quick because we've just got a short time.
Welcome, everyone. We will begin the hui with a karakia. Māori oho, Māori tū, Māori ora, kia tātou, haumea huia tai kia.
Kia ora, Jan. So thank you very much everyone for joining us tonight, and we really appreciate you taking the time to be part of this webinar, and especially a big shout out thank you to the Honourable Jan Tinetti, who's joining us to answer many questions and put forward some ideas and views that she would love to share with you as well. And Jan, we really appreciate you giving the time to us tonight. So without further ado, I'll hand over to Ali now. Kia ora.
Kia ora anō e te whānau. Welcome to this webinar with the Honourable Jan Tinetti, Associate Minister. Sorry, yeah, they've written Associate on here. Naughty script writers. Our Minister for Education, my apologies. Ko Ali Kemplin tōku ingoa. Ko he kaiawhina tau tōku ahau. Ki te kura arito o Newton, ki te rito o Tāmaki Makaurau ahau. I'm a teacher aide and I'm the support staff rep on our National Executive. We also have our lovely Jan here, Jan Mons, who will introduce herself.
Hi everybody, I'm Jan Mons. I'm a learning assistant at Knighton Normal School in Hamilton. I represent the support staff of the Waikato region. I'd just like to introduce our sign language interpreters, Bridie and Rika, who are on the webinar tonight. And I'd also like to let you know that we've set aside some time at the end of the webinar for questions. We will be turning off the chat, so if you have any questions for Minister Tinetti, please use the Q&A function and we will endeavour to answer them at the end of the session.
Kia ora, Jan. So a little bit about the Honourable Minister of Education, Jan Tinetti. Jan has been a primary school teacher and a principal. She was a member of NZEI Aotearoa and during this time held both local and national positions, including principal rep on the National Executive. She became a Labour list MP and Associate Minister for Education before accepting her role as Minister of Education. As an educator and a politician, she's passionate about inclusive education and ensuring our children's universal access. Jan, would you like to add anything to that?
Thanks, Ellie. Kia ora, everyone. I think you got everything there, and I know that I'm going to be able to talk a bit more as we go through the questions about my passion in this area, so we'll leave it at that.
Okay. So, Minister, as a former principal, you'll be aware that we celebrate our support staff membership each year. This year, we're celebrating for a whole week from the 26th to the 30th of June. So there's a lot going on in terms of government initiatives that will impact on support staff. We've just got some questions we'd like to ask around this. First of all, what is your vision for support staff in our schools and early childhood centres?
Yeah, thank you. I saw the questions today and I was thinking really hard about these because I'm so passionate about the work that support staff do, not only with our learners, but with our staff across all areas of the school and also our communities. I'm going to say, and my support staff that I had in all of my schools knew this, is that I could not have run my schools without them. They were integral. They were the ones who worked so closely with those young people and made such a difference to their lives. And I just so appreciate everything that they've done. That's being said, because they do play such an important role, and that's, I should say, also in early learning services as well, because I know that we've got a critical and key support staff in early learning services. We need to make certain that as a government that we are committed to growing, attracting and retaining a highly qualified, and when I say qualified, not necessarily paper qualifications, but qualified to do the work, and diverse workforce, and that's inclusive of teachers and support staff. We need them to be capable, connected and supported, and the big word for me is supported. So it almost means that when we're looking together, we need to work out what it is that we want for our support staff going forward, but we need to make certain that we're valuing them. Now, we've had the pay equity claims in recent years, and that's been really successful to work through. Is it time now that we look at what is it that we need our support staff to look like going forward for the modern day schooling? Because essentially the job description of support staff, and I know this is different in different areas and different settings, but essentially the job description isn't much different to when it was when I first started teaching, and which was 1990. What do we want our support staff to look like now? So one of the areas that hasn't been talked about a lot, but I'm very passionate that we will make this happen, is that the work that we're doing around the Ministerial Advisory Group, who will report back to me on schooling, staffing, and the issues and what it will look like, will be inclusive of our support staff as well. So what do we want our modern day support staff to look like? What support do our support staff need to ensure that they can continue to be the amazing resource that they are and the amazing people that they are, but also well and truly embedded within our system and not being subject to budget cuts every year, as an example. That when principals aren't having to make decisions about other aspects of school resourcing and put that up against our support staff. Our support staff are integral and they need to be embedded in the system. So the Ministerial Advisory Group won't only be working around teaching staff, it will also be looking at around the work of support staff, and that will add to the work that's already happening that has been part of the Accord work.
Thank you for that. I've got the next question. Minister, what are your views about the teacher aid funding review work and the possibility of extending it to other support staff roles?
Yes, I think that's a really good segue from the first question into this one, because I kind of started to go into that as well, around the work of what was happening with the teacher aid resourcing in the group that's been looking at that area. And first and foremost, can I say that you know, I'm a little bit frustrated with the delays, and I get why the delays are there because of industrial action, and the group hasn't been able to meet to bring back that final lot of consultation work. But there's an urgency around this too. And there's an urgency that we get the way that that funding happens for support staff right. And as I said in the answer to the first question, one of the reasons that we don't have our support staff purely embedded into the system is because of the way that they are resourced within schools and the complexity of the way that they are resourced. So I'm chomping at the bit to get that work back from the governance group around this, the work that the Honourable Tracy Martin was leading there or is leading there. And I really want to see their advice and their recommendations in this area. So I truly believe that, you know, that they're going to be coming, because I've heard some little bits and pieces and heard some bits and pieces that have come through from consultation. I truly believe that we will have a base to be able to work from. I truly believe that that will feed into the work of the Ministerial Advisory Group. But I also think when you talk about, like, that's the teacher aid, when you talk about support staff more broadly, we should be looking at all support staff. It's not just our teacher aides, it's everybody who's at the mercy of school budgets, or kids being at the school at this particular time and then moving. We need to make certain that we're creating a secure workforce. I know that this is something that Mark and I have discussed a lot in the past, is that we don't want to create a workforce that's even more insecure than what it is now. We've got to make certain that these amazing people have job security, but are also recognised for the amazing work that they do. So really, really looking forward to that work coming forward. I'm just feeling a sense of frustration at the moment, but can't wait to see what those next steps, and really happy to be looking across the whole of support staff.
Kia ora, Minister. That was a very heartening answer, that you know where we're at, and you know that it's coming really soon. And we're really excited because we know that we can't stay the way we are now, and unlocking that funding is going to get rid of a whole lot of other problems we won't have to bug you about. So that's going to be good. Just the next question is, what would you like to achieve for support staff over the next 365 days or over 2024? If you continue as Minister of Education after the election?
You know, when I was thinking about this one today, and I had house duty today, so I had plenty of time to think about it when I was in the House listening to legislation being passed through. I was more excited about thinking about this than I was, oh, I shouldn't say that out loud, but more excited about this than thinking about the legislation that was moving through the House at the time. But, you know, I think a lot of what we want to do in education, a lot of the work that I want to see progressed as Minister of Education, relies upon making certain that we've got a really strong, engaged and well qualified, and again, I just make a caveat on that word, qualified, the right people for the job in our support staff. So some of the areas that I'm wanting to make some real progress in is the recommendations that we've had from the High Needs Review. And integral to that are the people that are at the centre of this. And people talk about learning support coordinators, hugely important. People talk about the teachers, hugely important. But you know what? Who the people are that work really closely with these young people and will make the difference are our support staff. And I think that that's an area that I want to see, make certain that we've got the right supports around them. Again, I go back to the security, the job security, but making certain that we're building on the work, for example, that we've started with the Teacher Aid Professional Learning and Development Fund, that we're building on that. We're making certain that our support staff are getting the right professional development that's going to grow them in their job. That's really important. And I was, you know, delighted with that when that came through in the collective agreement. But that's just the beginning that I would like to see. I would like to see that we're really really supporting them to be the one. If I always talk about in this role with the teachers as an example, that we know that there are some critical issues around resourcing at the moment to support our teachers in the heavy workloads that they've got. But nobody talks much about the heavy workloads that our support staff have. And it's really important that we make certain that we've got the right resourcing and the right support around them too. Because if we do want to make certain that they're secure, their jobs are secure, their jobs are embedded, then we need to make certain that we're retaining the right people in the roles as well and attracting the right people in the roles. Yeah, that probably is the biggest area for me, but also to make certain, I go back to something I said before, making certain that we're getting that diversity of people that are coming into these roles. I think on these forums before, I have talked about the fact that my son was a teacher aide for about 5 years and loved it and was passionate about it, but couldn't stay in it because he didn't see a career pathway in that role. He didn't want to be a teacher. He wanted to be a teacher aide. He loved that one-on-one. He loved that closeness to the young people. Where's that discussion at? You know, where is it around that pathway and career pathway? And is that something that we should be looking at too? So I guess in the next year, that would be a discussion that I would be having as well, about what are the next steps to make sure that that diversity of people are staying within the profession as well. And I use that word profession because it is a profession, and we know it's a profession because we know it's a very, very specialized skill set. I'm probably talking about teacher aides, but I'm going to talk about other support staff too, because all of them, I couldn't do my office manager's job, for example, as an example. But where's the career pathway within that? And we've got to make certain that we're getting the diversity of people into all of these roles, but also making certain that we're keeping them within the roles.
Wow, that's amazing. Thank you very much. Minister, what do you need support staff to do to help you to strengthen the education system?
As I say, I couldn't have run my school, and I know that I challenge any principal to be able to say they could run their school without their support staff. So I think people need to understand exactly that role, and you've done a lot of work over the years to be able to, particularly when we were going through pay parity, pay equity, the comparators, showing what that role meant. But I don't know that there's a wide understanding of that. I don't know that people really understand just how critical our support staff are. So I think that there's some work to be done in that space to get that out there. Our support staff just play this absolutely essential role within both early learning services and schools. So we need people to understand exactly how important that is. You know, also, I'm going to say, when we have things like the high needs review, you know, I didn't hear a lot of voices from support staff coming back on that. And in fact, you're the people that work so closely with our young people on the ground. I think you've got a unique perspective. And I would say that when we're building the next stages and building that inclusive learning environment for all our learners, we must hear from you. We must hear what works for you, because I think you've got a more real perspective. I know that my teacher aides, for example, I'll say my whole support staff really, probably had a more deeper understanding of those young people. And this is no disrespect to my teachers, because they were great, but the teacher aides had that one-on-one understanding, and support staff, my office people as well, of those young people, because they worked so closely with them. And we really need to hear that voice coming through. So if you're helping us strengthen that education system, then don't think, oh, my voice doesn't count, because actually I know that your voice counts more than anybody's in this space. So I think that's really, really important.
Kia ora, Minister. Yeah, we know how awesome we are, but it's nice when other people see that clearly as well. We've got time for a couple of questions, but there's lots of questions, so we're just having a look at the questions and trying to synthesize them a little bit. Moving forward and developing these awesome career pathways we're looking at in the future, how would you see that working with when the current funding is just for contact time, or when schools are open? Can you just say, I just didn't quite hear that first bit.
Yeah. So I'll just say parliamentary Wi-Fi is not as stable sometimes. So
you know, currently schools are funded those tiny amounts, and it ends up being, it only pays for support staff and contact time. So it's pretty hard to develop a career pathway and implement and plan and all those things when you're just schools can only afford that contact time. How do you see that being better in the future?
Yeah, I think that that's work that I would really ask the Ministerial Advisory Group to be looking at, because I truly believe that that's one of our biggest issues in this, and the fact that you know, people are paid for the 40 weeks of the year, and that's not sustainable. That was another reason why my son couldn't stay in being a teacher aide. And we need people to be valued for who they are. Can I just say, I know I've used the word teacher aide a lot, and I don't mean to. I'm meaning all support staff. I absolutely get there's the administrative work as well. And as I say, I could not have run my office at all. In fact, I was in awe, absolute awe of my office manager and everything that she did. So, and I know language matters, and I'm going to go away and kick myself for the fact that I've used the word teacher aide too many times.
Jane, can you see Liz's question there about librarians?
I sure can. I have a question here. There are many librarians losing hours or their jobs, and many schools losing libraries. At a time when literacy is at a low, we need school libraries more than ever. Our children further their reading abilities by reading for enjoyment for our libraries. What's your view on this, Minister, please?
Yeah, so Liz, was it? Liz, you're talking my language, absolutely talking my language here. The best part about being Minister of Internal Affairs when I was Minister of Internal Affairs was having the National Library come under my wing. And if you could see my office, you can still see that I've got National Library books on display, because when I left being Minister of Internal Affairs, I said, can I please still get the school libraries books coming into my office? And so they agreed to that, and they will change them over, because I absolutely love libraries, and I love the fact that our kids, just the joy of library is really important to them. And I'm gutted when I hear about so many schools that are getting rid of their libraries, or librarian hours being reduced as well. One of the areas of if you have a look in the literacy and communication strategy document that we launched, one of the areas that you will actually see in that is that we have deliberately put in a partnership with National Libraries so that we can start to build libraries into the strategy. I don't have an answer yet about personnel, but that will be part of it. But we really see library as being critical and key to lifting our literacy rates within the country. And we deliberately put it into the strategy. I do know that that the National Library and my Ministry of Education officials are working very, very closely on this area.
Yay, book people are the best people. Just have a question from Julianne, wondering if you'd be able to give your people a little bit of a hurry up with the admin, pay equity, PLD fund, so that they can start accessing that.
Okay, I will mention that to them. I've got Alistair on the call here, who's one of my staff members, or one of the Ministry of Ed staff members seconded into my office. And what his job is to write down any of these things and he'll be scrolling through the questions at the same time and making certain that we get that back. So I will make certain, Julianne, that we will get that question across so that we can give them that bit of a hurry up.
Awesome, thank you. Just trying to read and talk at the same time. I think so. There is all the stuff that we've been talking about, and there's funding, and there's valuing us, and there's career pathways, and there's PLD and everything. What can we do? I think, like the question Jan asked before, to lift the very old-fashioned, outdated idea that we are less than, or we are just.
Yeah, look, I think we've all got a job to do here, and I think government has this job to do as well. I don't think it's just on you. I don't think it's just on us. I don't think it's just on the union. I think it's all of us actually working on this to change that narrative around. The job of support staff has changed a lot from when I first started teaching. But I don't think people's perception of that who aren't in education realise that that has changed a lot in the work that people do. I think about the office administrators, for example. The all the requirements now that are put on them. I've got a very funny story that I won't go into too much, but the day that NovoPay went live, I know I hate saying that word because I still have PTSD from it, but the day that NovoPay went live and the Secretary of Education was visiting Tauranga, and she was visiting my school that day, and the fact she asked my office manager, oh, how's it going? And I thought, oh God, don't ask. But those sorts of things that just come out of left field that mean that the job just increases all the time. But people don't understand that. They still see the job of that office administrator, of that person that was back when they went to school. And so we've got to change that around. We're talking about amazingly professional people that are just exceptional at what they do. Same with the job, the role of any of our support staff. It has changed greatly. And so I believe that we've done a lot of work separately over the years, and we've got the Accord group that's been working on this, but I think that ministerial advisory group, really important that people input into that as well, so that people know at that level what the job entails and can start to say, so what needs to happen going forward here? So your voice is really, really important.
No, Mickey, thank you. I was on mute and reading at the same time. But yeah, I reckon, I think especially through the pay equity process for all of our different groups, is that we don't feel just anymore, and we're brave enough to tell our stories and not be shy about it. And it's and talk about our work that we do and how it hasn't been valued and how we're moving towards it really being valued. So thank you. I think time ticking. I think Jan's got one more quick question. Have you, Jan?
There's so many questions. I don't know which one would take priority. I'm going to call on your experience. Sorry, Ali, can you choose?
That's all right. I feel like it's ticking away. This has gone so quickly. I hope we can do it again sometime soon. Jan's going to wrap it up for us, but thank you so much. Ngā mihi nui ki a koe.
Kia ora. And can I just say that I really would like to do this again. I think that, as I say, support staff are amazing. And if you've got anything, like I hear a lot from teachers and I hear a lot from principals, if there's anything that you want to let me know, just please be in contact. Flick an email through to my office. We try to be really responsive. So, you know, anything that you think that will help, don't be shy. Your voice, and I know you're not, because I know support staff aren't shy, but don't think that your voice doesn't matter, because your voice is really important to me. And as I keep saying, I just know how amazing you all are as support staff. So make certain that anything you think that's going to help us build an amazing education system, flick it through.
We definitely will.
Well, that's all we have time for this evening. Thank you, Minister Tinetti, for answering all our questions tonight. I know that your mahi is equally as harder than the work we do. But it's so nice to know that there's somebody that gets it, that's lived it, that you know, has hired and worked alongside support staff. And I can just tell your heart is in the right place, and you do care about education and us support staff. So thank you so much.
You are more than welcome. Thank you. And thanks everyone for everything you do.
Okay, I'm just going to close this out. Whakatauki, kia whakairia te tapu, kia wātea ai te ara, kia turaki whakataha ai, kia turaki whakataha ai, haumia hui e, taiki e. Thanks everybody. O mari e.